Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a mystery drama film, The Body in the Library. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a fancy dinner party in a large, sprawling mansion. The guests are all draped in their finery and the silverware sparkles in the light. Everyone is beaming because tonight is a night of celebration. Conway, a British millionaire, is throwing the dinner party in honor of his son's birthday and brief return from the war front. His son-in-law, Mark, also returned with him. Conway gets up and toasts their bravery, hoping that the war will end soon and they both can go home for good. Just as when the servants are bringing out the cake, a loud explosion shakes the room and the flying debris engulfs the guests. A cheery morning dawns at the nearby country estate, Gossington Hall. Like any morning, the servants are up first to do their chores, while the lord and lady of the house, Arthur and Dolly, are still sleeping. The maid goes inside the library to clean it, but gasps at the sight of a young blonde woman lying dead on the floor wearing a dress. Later, inside a quaint cottage, a telephone rings. A woman, named Jane, answers immediately. Jane is not part of the same illustrious circles as Dolly and Arthur, but Dolly is a dear friend, and she immediately calls Jane for help upon the discovery of the body in her library. Wearing a sunny yellow cardigan, Jane makes her way to Gossington Hall, where she is welcomed by Dolly. She wastes no time leading Jane through the house, and they quickly arrive at the entrance to the library, and Jane finally sees the mysterious corpse. A black belt is lying near the body, and Dolly comments that strangulation is the apparent cause of death. A car pulls up to the driveway, and Chief Constable Melchett steps out. He is greeted by Arthur and quickly informed that no one in the house knows who the dead girl is. Like Dolly and Jane, the two men go to the library to inspect the corpse. After looking at the girl, Melchett bluntly says that it's all right if Arthur had a secret affair with the young girl. Arthur scoffs at Melchett's suggestion. In another room, Dolly and Jane sit down for a cup of tea and to discuss the case. Dolly theorizes that maybe the mysterious girl had come in with a burglar, since a window in the house was forced open last night. But that theory doesn't hold water, because the girl's fancy attire and shoes don't really seem appropriate for a burglary. Back in the library, Melchett questions Arthur on his whereabouts last night. He coolly answers that he arrived at the house after a meeting 15 minutes before midnight. He got home late because his car had a flat tire in the middle of the road. When he went to bed, Dolly was already asleep. After listening to Arthur's account, Melchett surmises that the girl had come inside the house with a man and that they were from the nearby town. Jane seems to be having the same thoughts. She mentions a local playboy. Dolly says that playboy has been very rude to Arthur lately. His name also pops up in Melchett and Arthur's discussion. They agree that he does seem to be the type, since he's been throwing wild parties in his home. Jane shares with Dolly that a scantily clad woman was seen in the bathtub during one of Playboy's recent parties. But the crucial piece of information is that Playboy's latest arm candy is a platinum blonde girl. It seems that Melchett had also heard the same rumor. He and Arthur look at the dead girl's platinum blonde hair and come to the conclusion that Playboy is a person of interest in the case. Melchett heads to Playboy's house. He asks the young man about his blonde companion and informs him that a blonde girl has been found dead in Gossington Hall. Suddenly, a car comes barreling down Playboy's driveway, and an angry blonde woman runs to him while shouting. It turns out that Playboy's blonde companion was not the dead girl after all, but a minor actress. She is fuming at Playboy for leaving her behind at a party last night. Playboy rolls his eyes and tells her that he left because she was drunk. Meanwhile, the coroner determines that the blonde woman had died between 10 to 11:30 p.m. last night. This rules out Arthur as a suspect, since if his alibi was true, he arrived home at 11:45 p.m. The coroner also adds that she was strangled with the black belt she was wearing. Melchett goes to his office and is frustrated that they still can't identify who the woman is. Fortunately, Melchett's partner calls and gives him a lead. An 18-year-old dancer at the Majestic Hotel was reported missing by her cousin, Josie. She matches the physical description of the dead woman. Josie identifies the body as Ruby. She tells the police that she got Ruby her job as a dancer at the hotel after Josie sprained her ankle and wasn't able to dance anymore. Last night, Ruby's partner informed her that Ruby was missing. They went up to her room, but saw no sign of her, except the dress she was wearing earlier lying on her bed. Josie believed that Ruby just ditched her job to frolic around with a boy, and so she did not report it to the police that time. It was Conway, who was staying at the hotel, and reported Ruby's missing later. Melchett asks Josie if Ruby had gone out with Playboy before, and Josie replies that the name is familiar. However, she has no inkling as to why Ruby would be in Gossington Hall. Melchett and his partner escort Josie to Gossington Hall, so she could see where Ruby was found. She mentions again that it was Conway who called the police, and Dolly says that Conway is a family friend. Josie explains that Conway and his family are guests at the hotel, and he has befriended Ruby. Dolly and Jane decide that the mystery has only gotten more thrilling, and that they should go to the hotel to find answers. As they drive, Dolly tells Jane that Conway and his family experienced a tragedy when their mansion was hit during a wartime air raid. This is the dinner party shown earlier in the film. The attack claimed Conway's sons and daughters' lives and left his legs paralyzed. He now lives with Mark, the son-in-law, and Adelaide, the daughter-in-law. They arrive at the exclusive seaside hotel and are taken up to their elegantly furnished rooms. While peeking out the window, Jane notices Josie by the pool taking care of a young boy. The boy turns out to be the son of Adelaide from her first marriage. Conway's family had not just gotten close to Ruby, but to Josie too. Meanwhile, Melchett and his partner also drop by the hotel to talk to people who knew Ruby. Adelaide sits down for an interview with Dolly and Jane. She recounts that she, Mark, Conway, and Josie were playing bridge when Ruby's dance partner came up to them, seemingly worried about her. Conway became deeply concerned and demanded that they call the police. The two policemen interview the hotel manager. He describes Ruby as a good dancer, but a bit wilder than a hotel employee should be. He also mentions that Conway had taken a liking to Ruby and was so worried when she had gone missing. Even Josie wasn't that worried about her cousin's disappearance. In the end, since Conway is such a good customer of the hotel, they decided to report the matter to the police. Jane and Dolly also talked to Conway in his room. He shares that after he lost his son and daughter, he was lonely. Mark and Adelaide took care of him, but Conway felt particularly happy in the company of young Ruby. She was vivacious and charming, and he loved her like a daughter. In fact, he planned on adopting Ruby and giving her £50,000. Mark and Adelaide were supposed to receive money as the inheritors, but Conway later replaced them with Ruby in his will. Now that Ruby is gone, Mark and Adelaide can stand to inherit Conway's money again. Lastly, Conway doesn't know that Ruby was found in Dolly's house and is surprised when she mentions it. Meanwhile, Melchett and his partner question the young man who was the last person to see Ruby alive. His name is George, and he nervously sips his drink as he tells his side of the story. Ruby had graciously agreed to dance with him, but soon enough, she yawned and said goodbye to him. A while later, she disappeared. Afterward, Adelaide's son approaches Melchett and his partner. He reveals that Mark and Adelaide hated Ruby, and he suspects that they're glad that she's gone. The boy leaves them, and the two policemen visit Ruby's room in the hotel. Melchett's partner finds fingernail clippings with nail polish in her trash bin. George talks to them again and reports that his car has been stolen. After they inspect the room, Melchett runs into Jane in the lobby. They have tea at the restaurant, and Jane suggests that maybe Ruby has a boyfriend, and Conway doesn't like that. Jane also mentions that Josie had seemed angry when talking about Ruby's dalliances with men. Melchett's partner goes out to the pool and sits down next to Ruby's dance partner. He tells the partner he did a dance exhibition with Ruby at 10:30, and then at midnight, she wasn't there anymore for their second number. Josie noticed that Ruby had changed out of her evening dress to an old dress. Josie then had no choice but to take Ruby's place and dance with him despite her sprained ankle. Dolly and Jane have early evening drinks with Adelaide and Mark. They are brutally honest about their thoughts on Ruby being adopted by Conway, calling her stupid and a gold digger. Adelaide even says that she had hoped that Conway would name her son in the will instead. Mark also speculates that Josie had been rooting for the adoption to go through so she and Ruby could have money. The partner is called to the crime scene of a new murder in a quarry. A car resembling George's vehicle was found, torched with the body of a girl guide inside. That night in their hotel room, Dolly and Jane talk about the discovery of the second body. Jane thinks that the girl guide had seen something involving Ruby's murder, and she was killed because of this. The next morning, the partner reveals the discovery that Adelaide and Mark are both broke because of bad financial decisions. The two, however, haven't informed Conway about their problems, making them the likely suspects because of the inheritance. But their alibi is solid, for they were playing bridge with Conway during the time of death, so the police are leaning into finding out who Ruby's boyfriend is. Melchett calls the coroner again, who discloses that Ruby had been drugged before she was strangled to death. Meanwhile, Dolly and Jane decide that divide and conquer would be their strategy. Dolly has tea with Adelaide in the restaurant, while Jane meets up with Mark for drinks. Mark reveals that a few days before Ruby's death, he was with Conway and Ruby. Conway had seen a picture of a man that was in her bag, and he got angry. It was a picture of Playboy, but Mark doesn't know him. That night, Jane mentions to Melchett and his partner. She finds it strange that Ruby would change into an old dress if she really had gone out to see a man. Her dance partner joins them at the table while Josie and Melchett dance. Jane cryptically says that she knows what the dance partner is willing to do for money, insinuating that she sleeps with female guests in exchange for payment. The next day, the partner takes Jane with him as he interviews the girl guide's friends. One of them reveals that the girl guide confided in her about being discovered by a Hollywood producer. She went to the hotel to meet up with the producer and do a screen test, but she was never seen again after that. Jane visits Playboy's house next and talks to his actress girlfriend. She asks the woman if there used to be a hearth rug in their living room, and she says yes. Playboy arrives, and Jane informs him that he is about to get arrested in connection to the murder of Ruby. Playboy breaks down and explains that he went home drunk the other night and suddenly saw Ruby's body lying on the hearth rug in his living room. He panicked and wrapped the body with the rug and loaded it into his car. He then took the body to Gossington Hall, intending to frame Arthur as a sort of joke. The police arrive and arrest Playboy. After discovering that Ruby's body was originally planted to frame Playboy as Ruby's murderous lover, Jane realizes that the reason behind the framing and the girl guide's time of death is to throw off the suspicion from Adelaide and Mark, who both stand to financially benefit from Ruby's death. The primary motivation behind the killings helps Jane narrow the suspects' list to the two of them. Later, Jane and Dolly go to Melchett's office. Jane announces that she is ready to uncover the killers, Josie and Adelaide. At first, it didn't make sense why Josie would want Ruby killed when she would also benefit if Ruby gets adopted by Conway. Jane then guesses that Josie and Adelaide are lovers. Because Ruby threatened Adelaide and her son's inheritance, the two lovers concocted a plan to take Ruby out. First, they scouted a local girl who resembled Ruby. Adelaide pretended to be a film producer and reeled the girl guide in. The girl meets them in the hotel, where Josie dyes her hair platinum blonde and gives her Ruby's dress to wear. They then drugged the girl guide, and Adelaide excused herself from dinner and then took her to Playboy's house, so they can frame him for her murder. Josie already planted Playboy's photo in Ruby's bag days earlier to give the others the idea that they are lovers. Adelaide then strangled the girl guide and left her there on the rug. However, Playboy threw a wrench in their plans when he transferred the corpse to Gossington Hall because the police took much longer to connect Playboy to Ruby's murder. Meanwhile, the real Ruby was also drugged, which was why she was yawning when dancing with George. She went up to Josie's room and lost consciousness. Josie then dressed her up in the girl guide's clothes and even cut her fingernails to match the girl guide's nails, since the girl guide had bitten her nails to the quick while Ruby had long manicured nails. She then stashed her body in George's car and drove it to the quarry so she could burn it. When the girl guide's body was found in the library, Josie identified her body and confirmed that it was Ruby. The reason why Adelaide and Josie went to all that trouble to switch the bodies was that they needed the perfect alibi. If the girl guide was identified as Ruby, her specific time of death would free Josie and Adelaide from suspicion, since they were both downstairs playing bridge at that time. Jane had figured everything out when she realized that the cut fingernail clippings they found in Ruby's wastebasket did not match the bitten fingernails of the corpse in the library. When the second body was found in the quarry, Jane also realized that the bodies were switched. What's more, Josie must have been involved in the murder because she identified the girl guide's body as Ruby's. But without solid evidence at hand, Jane proposes that they set a trap for the two women, so they can finally prove that Josie and Adelaide were behind it all. They ask Conway to talk to Adelaide and Mark and tell them that he plans to give away the inheritance to a dance group. Jane predicts that Adelaide and Josie will try to kill Conway, so Adelaide will get the inheritance before he can change the current will. Sure enough, Josie walks into Conway's room that night with a syringe. Melchett and his partner show up in time to apprehend her, while she and Adelaide go to prison. Jane remarks that love really can blind people and make them do cruel things. The movie ends with her back in her cottage and cradling a framed photo of her dead husband. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.